So I've been doing some research trying to figure out what's trending, what's new for weddings this year. We know softer neutrals have been going strong for a while now, but I'm starting to see a major shift to color, and lots of it. I love it. I think it's a really bold and sort of fresh take on a wedding color palette. And not only that, but I'm seeing a lot more sort of sculptural flower arrangements. So make sure you stay till the end for that. And if you want to learn how to DIY to achieve this more eclectic floral style, from centerpieces to signage and invites to arrangements, I got you. And if you were just here for the love of DIY, me too. I'm not getting married. This isn't a wedding announcement or anything. Maybe I don't. Why am I making this awkward? Anyway, I just picked up a piece of wood from Home Depot. So let's go back to the office and I will show you guys our first DIY. Because honestly, you don't even need to be getting married. All of these projects are great. Okay, so now I'm gonna take this plain block of wood and turn it into a beautiful centerpiece for our table. I love this design because it's super simple to achieve and it doesn't require an abundant amount of florals like most centerpieces, but you still get that wow factor. This piece of wood is a 2x2 by 3 feet piece of poplar. I would opt for a wood with a more prominent grain as opposed to a more inexpensive piece like pine, but this piece was about 16 Canadian dollars and I definitely think it was worth the couple extra dollars. We're gonna start by marking 2 lines evenly spaced. The nominal size of this piece is 2x2, but it's actually 1.5 inches, so I'm marking my lines at 0.5 and 1 inches. Now we're gonna evenly mark holes about 1.5 inches apart on each line, and we're gonna stagger those on the alternate side. So now you're just gonna take a drill and we're gonna drill holes where we mark those dots. You don't want your drill bit to be too thick, about the width of a stem, which I know can vary, so as a good middle ground, I'm using an 1/8 inch bit. And I'm aiming to drill about halfway through this plank. Then I'm just hand sanding all sides, making sure to remove the pencil lines before I go in with some stain to really make that wood grain pop. Color I'm using is Golden Pecan, and when it's properly dried, I will go in with a top coat. All right. Gorgeous. And that's pretty much it. I'm gonna go get some flowers and we're really gonna bring this thing to life. When it comes to wedding florals, they are obviously highly desirable, but it comes at a cost, and quite a big one sometimes for something that is so temporary. I mean, they're so beautiful, so effortless, there's no question on the appeal, but when I was thinking about this video, I just thought there has to be a middle ground here, and that's when I thought that dried flowers feels like a great approach.
Don't hit pedestrians, don't hit pedestrians, don't hit pedestrians, don't hit pedestrians, don't hit pedestrians.
Right now, I'm stopping by Euclid Farms, my favorite dried floral shop in Toronto. Because if I know one thing and you are DIYing for your wedding, you really need the option to make things ahead of time, which dried florals give you. Plus, you have the option to keep them afterwards, whether it's a physical memory of your wedding day or to repurpose or even resell the flowers completely. So if flowers are in your budget, it doesn't hurt to consider spending it at a local shop where you will always find the most variety. Okay, it's actually the first really sunny day in Toronto this year, so I'm just feeling really good right now. Let's head back to the office and we are going to go finish up with this lovely bouquet. Okay, so I'm back from Euclid Farms and I just picked up a whole bunch of different varieties and different colors because I really want to play around with this, but basically all we're doing is taking a stem and placing it in one of our holes. Let's go. This is why it's best to start with the smaller hole, because depending on the flower stem, we can always adjust to make them bigger later on. What I love most about this design is how unique it feels, yet there is such beauty in simplicity here. Like, this whole aesthetic would change literally depending on the types of flower you choose. Imagine I did this with only one type of flower. We would go from this designer floral fantasy to a more minimalist approach. I love this DIY. So cute. Definitely a conversation starter. Okay, so moving on to some more of the graphic elements for this eclectic floral fantasy wedding. My first idea is for table numbers, and I want to do sort of a double glass moment. So the other day I went to the thrift store and I picked up some frames. As long as you're okay with more mix match frames, the thrift store is a great option. You totally can buy them new, but you will always find the best prices for picture frames at the thrift store. And I'm having budget in mind for this whole video because I know that things can add up really quickly when you are planning, prepping for your wedding. So I purposefully got 2 frames that were the same size so that I can use the glass from one and replace the back of the other. If you are getting your frames from the thrift store, they're probably dirty. So I just gave them a little clean and we're gonna set these aside for now. And the next thing I'm gonna do is make a stencil for our table numbers. You could do this with a Cricut machine if you have one of those, but I'm going to assume that most people don't. So I'm gonna show you a way that you can make one at home. To make the stencil, I am first taking a small sheet of parchment paper and layering some painter's tape over it. And I'm just overlapping the tape to strengthen the stencil. Then I'm just using my computer screen to trace. Now your screen is really sensitive, so you almost want to use no pressure if you are doing this. I'm barely grazing the tape with my pencil here, but just enough to roughly see the shape. Then after, I took a marker to define the number better. And now you have a super simple sticker stencil. That's a lot of S's. Now just center your stencil on the glass, pressing firmly on the edges. Finally, I went in with some black acrylic paint on a sponge and I filled in our stencil. So I made the 2 inverse because I want it to stay on the inside of the glass, and it looks something like this. No matter what stencil you use, don't be afraid to clean up the edges with your X-Acto blade. I wanted to test making my own, but you can also buy pre-made stencils. You could also use vinyl stickers. Don't worry too much about the numbers, but yeah, I really love this kind of organic feeling that it has. And I have both my glasses done. So the next step is getting some press-dried flowers. I found these on Amazon. You can get over 100 pressed flowers for like under $20. So these are gonna go a long way, and this is what we're gonna use in between our double glass. The flowers are quite delicate, so I find the easiest way to work with them is by using a pair of tweezers. Now with some school glue on the end of a paintbrush, I'm using tiny, tiny amounts to hold the flowers in place. It will dry clear, and I'm concentrating the flowers in the center around the numbers, making sure to cover the black paint. And I'm focusing on one glass panel more than the other because when we place these together, you will see the flowers from either side. As I was doing this, I would occasionally hold it up to the light just to see if I wanted to make any adjustments, but it's as simple as that. I totally encourage you to have fun with this step. So while I set those aside to have a little time to dry, I'm gonna start making adjustments to one of the original frames that will hold these glass panels. So I'm using a piece of hobby wood that is 1/4 inch thick by 2 inches wide, and you can get this at Home Depot for less than $3. And using a handsaw, I cut it down to be the same width as the frame. To attach these, I first sanded the bottom of the frame to remove any varnish, and then I took some wood glue to adhere it to our new base. You can wipe any excess glue with a damp towel, and I'm just using some tape to hold this in place while it sets. So once this has had some time to dry, it's optional to paint it whatever color you like. I actually really like the wood tone, so I'm gonna try and match the base to the frame the best that I can. And then once this has fully dried, we are ready to insert our double glass. And this is how our double glass table numbers turned out. I think this idea is beautiful, and it looks like a lot more effort than it is. Honestly, because I was having so much fun with this, I also mocked up some menus to show you another way you can use these pressed flowers. And I just printed these myself on a nice linen textured cardstock. Printing these at home will definitely save you some money. And I just played around with the placement of the flowers again. I also used some colored cardstock in the other frame, trimmed all the paper with the same sharp blade from before, using a ruler to guide. Here are the menus. And this is a little bar menu. I made all my mock-ups in Photoshop. You could use whatever word processing system that you prefer. And if you want to use the ones that I've made, they will be available for download on our website at TheSorryGirls.com. Fully customizable, use them. I also made some invitations that I wasn't sure if I was gonna show you guys, but I'm looking at them and they're really freaking cute. So take a look. I just have some placeholder names on here. Again, this is a fully customizable template, and I love this design I did because we can get 4 invites out of one regular sized sheet of paper, and I added in this super cute detail where you can cut around the date and then you're gonna slip a little dried flower in there. I just put a little piece of tape on the back to secure that flower, and these fit perfectly in an A6 envelope. Okay, moving on. So our final DIY is going to be this floating floral arrangement. It is super budget friendly, really easy to achieve, and looks so beautiful. I'm really excited to show you guys. To start off, the first thing we're gonna need is some chicken wire. This is the smallest package that I could find. This was about $20. We're only gonna need a small amount of this, but if you did need to make a bunch of these, then this would be perfect. So let's get this opened up, and you definitely are gonna wanna wear some work gloves because this does have some sharp edges. So for the size that I'm making, I'm gonna roll this out to give me 18 inches of length. To cut the chicken wire, I am using some tin snips. You could use wire cutters, whatever you have. Okay, great. So now you have a piece that looks something like this. And basically what you're gonna do now is roll it onto itself. I want this part that's in the middle, kind of like that. And then I'm gonna make it wider as we keep rolling. I'm also crunching in the edges so that all of these sharp wires aren't sticking out. Oh, kind of crunchy guy. Sometimes you crunch too hard. Oh, won't stop crunching. The ends are also going to be really helpful with holding this whole thing together, so just make sure that they are curved over the inside wire. And in the end, you should have something that looks like this. So, move that aside for a sec. Here I have some fishing line, and I'm just going to tie some of this around our base so that it can hang in the sky. And the reason I chose fishing line is because it will be the least noticeable once we go to hang. So I'm just tying this evenly on each side. I would definitely start with longer fishing line, and you can always shorten it later. So it's gonna look something like this. You got a little wire potato. And you're done. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so I have this hung up just so that I can visualize, because now we're ready to add our flowers. Hopefully you can tell on camera, but when I did roll this originally, I wanted to make sure that there was still wire in the center of the structure that we made, so that when we go to add our flowers, they have something to catch on to. Lovely. Okay, so the flowers that we're gonna be using for this are called Baby's Breath. This flower is an amazing option because it's not only really affordable, especially if you're buying this in bulk, but it's also something that we can work with ahead of time. So once we place these in here, over time they're gonna dry out and they're going to maintain their original shape. I've already went ahead and colored my flowers. I went with this beautiful array of pinks and oranges. There are many different ways to alter the colors of flowers, and I tried a few. One method is by adding food coloring to water and then letting the flowers soak up the color through the stems to the petals. I've had these tests sitting in the food coloring water for over 2 days now, and I'm not overly happy with the color saturation. Another method is to just dip the petals in the tinted water and shake off the excess. It seemed that these two tests weren't really giving me the depth, let alone variety of color that I was looking for. But I'm super curious what your favorite method to do this is. Let me know in the comments down below if you have one. But because we're working with a lot of flowers here, I found my favorite way to do this is by using paint mixed with water in a spray bottle. I have opted for a non-toxic paint here. I literally have kids paint that I got at the craft store because it's more environmentally friendly, but honestly, any paint will work for this. I'm using a 1-to-1 ratio of paint to water. You could change up this ratio depending on the color saturation that you're going for. And make sure you shake up the paint and water really well, and then you just spray it over the flower heads. I laid out a drop cloth to do this, but just make sure you flip the flowers over, coating all sides. So now our flowers are dry, we're ready to insert them into here. And I'm pulling off some of the stems so I can mix different colors together, but you do want to leave quite a good amount of length on the stem still so we have enough to protrude into our little base. So I have one bunch and you just pretty much fit it through the spaces and really get the bushy parts in there. And then when I pull on that, it's pretty stuck, which is exactly what we're going for. All right, let's go. So I'm just about halfway finished putting in all the stems, but I want to show you guys what the middle is looking like, because hopefully you can see that the more stems that we put into the center, the more that they interlock with each other, and it's just going to strengthen the more you add. I'm going to go ahead and finish the back side of this, but we are just about finished. It is looking so good. Guys, our drop cloth has never looked prettier. Let me show you. Okay guys, thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed these DIYs. I honestly had so much fun playing around with florals. I think that the results are beautiful and still very budget friendly. So hopefully you're feeling inspired to achieve all your floral goals at your wedding this year. And if you're looking for more wedding content, check out this video where Becky has made some more wedding DIYs, this beautiful arch. You don't want to miss it. We'll see you next time. Bye.
In today's video, we are tackling all things wedding inspired DIYs. We've got your place settings, we've got your wedding backdrops, and we've got a seating chart that also doubles as a guest book.